Welcome in another edition of Burnout Bets, burnoutsports.com. I'm Tony. That's Mike. A happy race week for the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500. Mike, I know you're just as excited as I am, and we are ready to break down some of these bets. A lot are fun. There's matchups, there's group bettings, there's Honda versus Chevy, there's over-under different numbers. Mike, let's start with this because there's so many different books, whether it's legalized here in the United States or some offshore books. But how important is it? I know you've talked about this before, but especially for this race, you mentioned the Super Bowl of betting for the Indianapolis 500 and the IndyCar series. How important to shop around and look at some of these different books and their odds on different drivers?
Yeah, you said it, man. Again, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. This is the Super Bowl of IndyCar betting. Yeah, I'm like a kid in the candy store. It's like Christmas week, Christmas Day for me. We have odds out a week before the race. Not like I'm not scrambling on Sunday to tweet a betting card out 2 hours before the race, or we're not scrambling to do these videos, waiting to get lines. Like, are there lines? Are there lines? No, we have numbers. We have props. We have group betting. This is so much fun. This is what I love doing. I love racing and watching the races, but doing the gambling stuff on the side of sports betting is just a ton of fun. It adds a little extra element to the race. So yeah, like you mentioned, anybody who hasn't listened to us already, we always preach. I always preach: shop around for lines. See what books are available to you. Especially if you're just getting into this, or you want to log on to one of these sports books. You got your DraftKings, your Barstools, your Bet Rivers, offshore, your Bovadas, your MyBookies. You have PointsBet is the NBC app. You have Caesars at IMS. A lot of these places offer promos, like crazy promos, that you can get, and you can really get a lot of free money from them. So take advantage of that. But make sure you shop around, look for the best lines. If you have the ability to do that, you have multiple books that you can go to, check it out. There are big discrepancies. I've been keeping an eye on it. I tried to tweet it out, but you can get, some major discrepancies in some of these odds. And obviously, if you're going to pick a winner and you're going to hit that winner, it's nice to put a little bit of extra cash in your pocket to make sure you got that best line.
Yeah, I know Caesars has mostly it's new user deals where you put a certain amount in, they'll match you or whatever. I know Caesars has some. If you need a couple other ones or you don't have it, so you can DM myself on Twitter at TonyDindy or DM Mike at Indy_bet, and we can help you get some of those better bonuses for new users as well. All right, so we have DraftKings pulled up right here, and we'll bounce back and forth throughout a couple different books. They are offering winner, top 3, and top 5 finishes here. Pelot and Dixon minus 140 each to finish inside of the top 5. Let's start with this. Mike, we've talked about this. It's almost Mario Andretti syndrome when it comes to Scott Dixon, and usually I fade the pole sitter. You and I are in agreement here that we are going to avoid putting most of our money or a little bit. I mean, maybe a top 3 or top 5 or a matchup. But I'm avoiding picking Scott Dixon to win this race on Sunday.
Yeah, when it comes to betting, it's all about value, and a lot of if you're a professional gambler, which I'm not, but I do a lot of this. You bet numbers. Not a big thing in football is you bet numbers, not teams. And this is the same kind of concept in IndyCar. Like I can't bet those. Dixon, because he got the pole, because he's been fast, because of his pedigree, his championships. 500-mile race. It just draws that number all the way down. Top 5 minus 140. I'm looking to get plus money on a top 5 bet, and it just pulls all his results down, all his numbers down, just to spots where I have a certain bankroll in mind, a certain betting card I'm going to formulate. We'll talk about that as we talk here as the show goes on. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to be fading Dixon, and I'm going to hold my breath that he doesn't bite me.
Yeah, and some of these odds, I mean, when we talked about this on the show last month when these odds first came out, and then we saw more and more books posting Indianapolis 500 odds. Like, I'm sitting pretty nicely on a Pelot 18-1. I think I have a Pagano at 28-1. I've got an Ed Carpenter at 35-1. But let's talk about Rinus VeeKay. and Pato O'Ward. The third and fourth favorites to win this race. You can get plus money on, or even money on O'Ward and plus 130 on a top 5 finish. These are guys I think that are going to be there at the end of the day. Where are you leaning when it comes to O'Ward and Rinus VeeKay on Sunday?
So O'Ward and VeeKay are both going to make my betting card to win. VeeKay and O'Ward got a little bit better number at, I think it was 11 as well, matching the VeeKay 11 to 1 number. Both those guys will be on my betting card. We'll talk about correlating your betting card with some of my other prop bets later. But those are two guys that I have placed bets on, and I do like to win the race. So VeeKay, man, that guy, he's been a rocket ship. Some top practice times, both in race trim and qualifying. O'Ward, pretty good history here. He's been kind of savvy on the ovals. He's learned to save the tires a little bit. So I like both of those guys.
Let's scroll down a little bit here. Some of the guys that are 12 to 1 on down: Newgarden, McLaughlin, Sato. I think Marcus Ericsson is captain consistent, and I think at plus 220 for a top 5 finish is certainly something that I would consider betting on. Probably, put a couple dollars on that. I really like the consistency of Marcus Ericsson. I think a $10 bet on Sato to win 180 is fun because you know that guy can get to the end. You know he's going to be exciting. He's going to go for it. Ed Carpenter up to an 18 to 1. Tony Kanaan 20 to 1. He's got a pretty good starting position, starting 6. It's 2 spots higher than what he started in last year's Indianapolis 500. Some of these guys, Mike, who do you like? Who do you fade here to win?
Yeah, so can't bet on everybody, right? So as I get down the board a little bit further, usually, what I'm looking to do here is this is where I'll start splitting my bet. So let's say I have $20 is my bet, and I want to put $20 on Sato to win. I'll probably put 10 of it on the 18 to 1. Usually we only get top 3s, so I put the other 10 on that 5 to 1 to make a top 3. Maybe in this case, I might even just do $5 on the 18 to 1 and then go, 15 or 10 and 5 on the top 3, top 5. That way, when he comes in second through fifth, I'm not a loser on that bet, and I do get to recoup some of that profit. But for me, this whole middle ground is pretty much dead. If I made the decision to go with VeeKay and O'Ward, I probably will not have any to win bets on Newgarden all the way down through till we get to Rosenqvist. Rosenqvist is somebody that's also going to be on my card. Again, I'll be splitting that bet kind of in that top 5, top 3, and a little bit on the to win bet. So Rosenqvist is a guy. I like you. We talked about the Pagano. We'll get down to him a little bit. I have that in my pocket as well. I also have a J.R. Hildebrand 200 to 1. That's more of a charity bet I do every year. If he ever wins, we'll put all that money towards charity. And I've had some fun on Twitter with Hildebrand about that. So I'll definitely JR. I'll be rooting for him as well.
JR's that guy that I don't know if he'll win in an AJ Foyt car, but he'll be that guy that at the end of the day you're going, man, we haven't heard from him, and then all of a sudden he finishes 7th or 8th. So maybe a top 5 bet on Hildebrand would pay off nicely. Newgarden still a fade for me. He really got lucky. He should be starting a little bit further back than what he is, but the rain came out as he went to make his attempts. So I like Ericsson right there for a top 3 at 5 to 1. Ed Carpenter, top 5 at plus 220 is also something I like as well. Now, if we can scroll down here and see what we can get on a guy like Simon Pagenaud or Elio Castroneves. Now, Elio, as we know, had a terrible qualifying effort. Pagenaud is kind of starting midfield. But you can get Pagenaud 25 to 1 to win the race there. Graham is a 30 to 1. I didn't see. There's Elio at 28 to 1. So, Pagenaud is a guy who ran a great race last year. At 3 to 1, I'm willing to put $10 on him to finish in the top 5.
Yeah, this is where, like I said, I'd be looking at these top 5s. 3 to 1's great value for a top 5 for some of these guys. We've already said we like Pagenaud. He's come through the field before. You can make a case, Rossi, Graham, Daly. You guys talked about on the IndyCar show, maybe Graham and Rossi and Daly all moving up through the field pretty quick. And those guys have history of leading laps here and doing well. So I could get behind, some top 5 And there are even some sports books that have some top 10s out there. As you get down further on this board, you can get them at 2-1. For some of these drivers that are starting in the mid to back of the pack. But yeah, that group in there, like I said, I wouldn't target the win bets. If you like one of them, look, hey, I had my second biggest IndyCar win ever last year on Helio at 40-1. So it's not like it can't be done. We'll get to some props later. I like the guys at the top, and there's reasons behind that and research behind that. But yeah, focus on the top fives down here. If you have a driver you like, this is something you can throw a couple bucks on. Have a little fun cheering it in.
Let's move on over, if we can, real quick here on the Burnout Bet Show, burnoutsports.com, previewing the 106th Indianapolis 500. If we can pull up Barstool here and kind of see what they have. They have some different props as far as, Indian manufacturer. Back in, as you see, Honda there at -182. Number of drivers that finish on the lead lap. Some of these are just fun to sprinkle a few dollars on. Let's run right down here. -182 for a Honda engine isn't something that I'm willing to pay. I know a Honda won last year, a Honda won in 2020, but that's a lot, I think. When there are some pretty decent Chevys in the field as well. Number of drivers that finish on the lead lap, I'll go under on that one. I think that it's right in that range. I think you'll go probably 14, 15, or 16. I think we'll see a little bit more attrition than what we have in years past. The number of drivers to lead a lap over under 12.5. I'll go under on that one as well. Mike, you can go ahead and run down those fun prop bets as well.
Yeah, so this is like this goes back to that Christmas Day comment. Like, we don't get these a lot for the race. We do usually get the Honda versus Chevy bet out there, but we don't normally get these grid position bets or these lead lap bets. This is strictly Indy 500. So I will be diving into these markets and playing around with this just because it's just a ton of fun. The Honda versus Chevy, yeah, that's gone too far. So if you could have gotten that, if you would jumped on that quick, I saw Honda at just it was almost split even money. Like, it was -110, -182 is just, yeah, too much variance there. Just too high of a number for me. Again, that goes back to betting the number and not the team kind of deal. I'm gonna go the other way on you. This might be we might have a little wager here. Number of drivers to finish in the lead lap. So over 17.5 is a decent favorite there for a reason. Last year was 22. I believe I hit this bet last year as well. I hit this bet last year. The year before, I think they set it at 18. I think it came in at 19 or 20 drivers in the lead lap. I know last year was 22. So yeah, I'll pay that juice. I think these drivers are pretty conservative. I think you look down the board, there's a lot of drivers that should be able to keep those cars in the lead lap. I don't think anybody's running away with this thing. So I'll take the over there. Number of drivers lead a lap. Yeah, I'm probably with you on that. I believe you said the under. I think that's where I'd lie as well for that one.
All right, grid position of race winner is another one on here. Car number of race winner. Car number of race winner is on there twice. First time winner Indianapolis 500 is a good one as well. If we could click that, the first time winner of Indianapolis 500, that's a pretty fun bet, right? Because you've got all these young guns that are ready to seemingly come in and take over IndyCar. And we saw the shootout last year between Helio Castroneves and Alex Palou late in that race. And we thought maybe we see a first-time winner in Palou, and then on lap 198, Helio obviously takes the lead. That would be a good prop bet too, Mike, that I think maybe next year, all they got to do is call us. We'll help them out. What lap does the winner take the lead for the final time? Like, maybe you do it lap 189.5, maybe lap 192.5. Like, it's basically, will we see, a last lap pass or a pass with 2 laps to go? I think that's something that maybe that'll be our little friendly wager that we do is when does the leader take the lead for the final time on what lap? If we want to go to the group betting here too, I know that's something, Mike, you've been paying attention to over the course of the last couple of days. Group A, you've got Award, you've got Newgarden, Ericsson, and Renus VK. This is a tough one, but these are all three of the 4 guys here are inside of that top 12 qualifying position. Joseph Newgarden on the outside looking in, VK on the front row, Ericsson on the second row, Award on the third row, and then Newgarden on the fourth row starting on Sunday. Who you got here? I have a nice little lean on either VK or Ericsson.
All right, so I'll give you a little betting strategy that I like on these group bets that you can get the best of both worlds and lock in a little profit. So what I like to do in these group bets, I do this in golf. They do these same kind of similar group bettings with players. I like to pick two. So you're going to get plus money. The goal is basically I'll pick two of the four. Let's just, for example, you can throw 10 bucks on each on VK and Ericsson. And pretty much, you have a 50-50 shot of one of those two coming in to beat O'Ward and Newgardner on that list. And obviously, depending on the numbers you have with each group, you're obviously going to reduce your profit a little bit when just going for one of the four. But at a plus money for both, you will lock in a little bit of profit if one of your two guys hits. So I'm with you. VK and Ericsson would be my choice on this one. I do like O'Ward, obviously, like we talked about earlier. So this is probably one I'd stay away from. There's one. I believe the next one down is one that I actually do like. So, you can probably put me. I would take Sato and Power out of this. I know Herder's been fast. He's the car that they're talking about that he can slice through the field. But Herder on ovals hasn't been spectacular. Jimmy, I'm fighting the hype here. I'm not sure what to make of Jimmy. I was surprised that he did so well in qualifying. He's had such good practice times. I've heard and read everything that you guys put out on Burnout Sports. As far as he's got more 500-mile experience, I think anybody in the field, everybody in the field combined. So that one does scare me a little bit. Probably nothing big there with that one. But what about you? Anything on Group C or D there?
Group B, I would take Sato and probably just fade the other three. Group C is very interesting. I mean, as long as Ed Carpenter's crew can keep him up where he needs to be throughout the day. I know Ed can get it done over 500 miles. He can bring the car home clean. I think he's got 3 out of the last 4 years. He's had top 6 finishes in the 500, if not mistaken. Again, McLaughlin, I just don't think will be there. Rosenquist, I just don't think will be there. Kanaan could be. But he faded last year. He really wasn't a factor at all. So give me Ed here in Group C. Group D is very interesting as we scroll down and take a look at, because you've got different drivers, and I think if we can click down on that Group D so we can see.
No, the Group D is not.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. So it's not a click down. I'm sorry. Group D, like I said, you got guys that could be there, and you got guys that haven't proved that they can be there. So, hold
there is no Group D.
So
look,
D.
so
yeah,
there just is no Group D on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I saw a Group D earlier.
It might have been earlier.
All right, Mike, go ahead and continue.
Well, hey, can we go back? You ready, Jared?
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back real quick. So Tony, back to the race props. Before we move on from some of those props, if you go down, my favorite bet, one of my favorite bets that I make every single year is grid position. Last year, most of the books offered 8.5. It took under there. This year, you're looking at they offer several different options. There is 9.5. So one of my favorite bets to do is take the under on that. So the grid position of the winner under 9.5. If you look at the guys, it's going to get me. I talked about correlating your betting card. I want the bets that I make in the props to match the bets that I'm making to win into top 5. So when I hit it and I get it right, I want to win lots of money and not just chop myself on my betting card. So this is one of my favorite bets, grid position to win. I bet under 9.5. That's pretty much the line that's out there globally. I did see some sports books that actually had under 5.5 at plus odds. So I decided to split my bet 80-20. I put 80% of the unit that I was going to place on that bet. I put it on grid position winner under 9.5 starting spot, and I put the other 20% on under 5.5, thinking that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the starters there. That gets me That gets me Dixon, Palou, VK, Carpenter, and Erickson in that plus money vet. And then obviously it adds in Kanan, Award, Rosenquist. So all the guys that are on my betting card, and even Grosjean gets in there for the under 9.5 starting spot. Also, the car number of the race winner. I thought that was interesting this year, given the numbers that we're seeing at the top of the list. I went ahead. I did make a small bet now. I might make a bigger bet on this one, but it was car number under 10.5. So that got me Palou, Dixon, Erickson, Kanan, Award, Rosenquist, Grosjean, not Grosjean, Rosenquist. So the only guy that scares me the most out of that is Carpenter and VK are obviously over card number of 10.5. But considering the value I got, the guys who I think are going to be contenders in this race, it matches up with my grid position bet that I think the winner is going to come from somewhere in the top 9 of the grid, top 3 rows. So I went with under 10.5 for the car number of the winner. I thought that was a fun prop to cheer on as well. So the only one that I worry about there is VK and Carpenter burning me there. There was one last fun one I thought to talk about. Odd or even on the car number. You got any thoughts on odd or even number for the winner?
I think for me, you would have to go even. That gives you Newgarden with number 2. It gives you Erickson with 8, Palou, Will Power. You can go on down the line. Maybe a couple other guys like Connor Daly, if that interested you. Simon Pagenaud is an even number. So yeah, I would probably have to lean a little bit on that even side.
All right, I think we found our bet. We'll throw how about $10? Give me odd. I'll take the Dixon, VK, Carpenter, Kanan, Award, Rosenquist side of that, and then I'm sure there's some other odd numbers down there, but those are the ones I care about. Sound good?
Yeah, that works for me. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. I think Palou is my favorite to win right now, followed by Renus. I do have a really good feeling that Marcus Ericsson's going to be right there. And if Ericsson can be clean, I know that's what you say about everybody, if he can be clean. But we saw him crash early on back in 2020 during the pandemic. But I think Ericsson's a guy that and I know he's never won an oval, and that does scare me a little bit. But I just think at the end of the day, we're going to be talking about Marcus Ericsson in the fight late in this race. So those are some fun bets that we've ran through here on the Burnout Bet Show. And again, as Mike mentioned, make sure you're shopping around. Make sure you're taking a look at what you have in certain books. And Mike, really, if you haven't signed up for some of these, it's worth it to put $20 in a few different ones and maybe collect some of that bonus money and then use that towards the Indy 500 if this is what you're looking to bet. Again, here's some top 3s as well that we talked about. Ericsson's going to get a little money from me on that. Scott Dixon, again, another complete fade for me. A guy that I want to go back to, Mike, that you've mentioned a few times that was there. If fans were looking to place some money on Pato O'Ward, what would be your suggestion on O'Ward? I mean, obviously to win, but this is also a guy that we know and has done it before, can be in the top 5 or the top 3.
Yeah, so Award's right in that line. It kind of depends on what your overall betting card is. If you're, obviously you decide what your budget is, decide how much you're going to bet. He's a guy where I'd probably split a little bit of my bet, like you just said. If I had $10 to spend or $10 allocated just towards him out of like maybe the 50 I was going to spend on the race, or who depending on what your budget is. I think the top 5 is a little light at plus 100. Like I said, he's one of the guys at the top of the board. It's interesting that he's the third highest favorite on the board. I mean, the books, that tells you something a little bit from the books here, that they're a little bit afraid of him. So I'd probably split the bet 50-50, top 3 and winner. And then I'd also maybe look to attack him in matchups. Again, you want to correlate your bets. Yeah. So like, you don't want to go betting Pato O'Ward to have top 3 finish and to win, and then go bet against him in a matchup, against Newgarden or something, or somebody that's not on your card. It's not going to, you'll win the match. If something happens, you don't win the one bet, Newgarden might win the matchup bet, but then you lose, you just lost, you broke even maybe on the rest, or lost. So you have to be careful about that. kind of plan, be mindful of your betting card, especially when you have all these props and kind of fun, all these different bets at your disposal. A lot more things to kind of dive in. The one advantage we have as bettors, is we don't have to bet everything. The sportsbooks have to put out lines on everything. They have to take all the money on whatever we decide to bet, but we don't have to bet them all. So, I'll end up picking, 1 to 3, sometimes more for the 500 matchups. And then usually have, I'll probably be the lightest on the win bets to win. I'll focus on those props, maybe some of that group betting, and really probably more of my money will be attached to top 3s, top 5s. And that's how you can build a bankroll, in my opinion. So it all depends on what your goals are, how much money you are, bet responsibly, all that good stuff, and what you're willing to have some fun with.
All right, let's run through these head-to-heads. We've got the ones up from DraftKings Sportsbook right here. So, Mike, we'll just run through them here. You tell me which way you're leaning, or if it's a total fade for you, I will do the same. So the first one on top of the board here is Alexander Rossi at -120 over Graham Rahal at -110. Two guys that are starting in, I believe, the same row. Two Honda power drivers that know how to get to the front here. I'm still not going to believe that the bad luck for either of these guys is going to go away. So I think this one's a fade for me.
Yeah, cosign on the fade there. I mean, maybe if I saw one of them at plus money, if the line shifted, I would just take whoever had the plus money. I think it's a coin flip. The grid positions don't matter as much on ovals. We've talked about that. They matter big time in betting when it comes to our road and street courses. But in 500 miles on an oval, you really don't care as much as far as the gap in the grids. These guys are next to each other. They're veterans. I guess you got to call them veterans, right? These guys have been around for a while. Fade, unless you saw plus money, then I'd maybe grab one.
All right, next we've got Renus VK and Pato Award. Two Chevy power drivers. Award the favorite over VK -125. VK at -105. I'm going to go Renus here at -105.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is one, like I said, back to correlating the betting card. I'm betting both of these guys, so I probably wouldn't touch the matchup of the two of them against each other, just because I don't want to chop my own pot. But if I was looking at it -105, VK is the stronger field for me. I'd go VK.
Heading on down, Scott McLaughlin versus Ed Carpenter. For me, Ed Carpenter at -120, absolutely. McLaughlin starts way back in the pack. It's going to be hard for him to maneuver the traffic to get up towards the front. Penske really, again, for a second year in a row, hasn't impressed me. I know it's not, closer. I wish it was a 110 or a 105, but Ed Carpenter -120 here, starting fourth. You're already going to be up, I believe, 20 positions when the green flag flies. I think you got to roll with Ed Carpenter on this one.
Yeah, McLaughlin starting 26th, Ed starting 4th, 22 spots. Yeah. I agree. McLaughlin, not the oval specialist. Carpenter, wily veteran. Carpenter, you just got to worry about bad luck. I've bet this guy a million times on ovals. He's one of my favorites. I don't think I've ever cashed any of those bets, but this one is on my short list to make the betting card. I've got my eye on it. I don't think -120 is terrible. I think that's a proper installment of a favorite, and give me Ed.
Next one, we got Takuma Sato at -125 versus Tony Kanaan at -105. Another fade for me here. I would like to see Sato get up there and battle it out. His pit crew really is what worries me probably the most. It just always seems like when something goes wrong on pit road, it's involving Dale Coyne Racing for whatever reason that is. So that scares me. And Kanaan just was not around at all last year. So if these guys finish 14th and 15th, I wouldn't be surprised. So this is a fade for me here between Sato and Kanaan, two former winners.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Too many question marks, too many, like Sato, the guy, I feel like he either wins the race or he puts it in the wall. It's like one or the other, or does something stupid on pit row. So yeah, fade on this one. I don't know what to make of Tony. I usually come in looking to bet veterans, but I think I've kind of shifted that mindset this year. I think that was my mindset last year. I did really well with Pagano and Castro Neves. I think this go around, I think it's going to be the battle of the young guns up top. So this one is a pass for me.
Battle of teammates from Meyershank Racing, the defending champion, Elio Castroneves at -110, and Simon Pagenaud at -120. Simon Pagenaud had probably the best race overall last year, obviously with Team Penske at the time. I like Simon Pagenaud in this one at -120. Elio starting way back in the field, I think from the 27th spot. Simon didn't have the greatest of qualifying efforts either. He's mid-pack. But I like Pagenaud here because, again, you're getting 10-plus spots from the go.
Yeah, this one's interesting. This is one that's on my short list to keep an eye on as well. I'm kind of surprised, given the name value, that we're not getting a flip flop in the favorites here. I think as you get closer to race day on Sunday, I think the public or people who are just jumping into DraftKings to bet the 500, you're going to see a lot of Elio money come in, and you might even see that flip flop, and I might be able to jump in on Sunday late and grab Pagenaud. We've both been high on Pagenaud for about 2-3 months, however long we've been doing this. He's one of our first bets we made in the future market. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. This is one though I would watch because I just have a feeling it would flip. I think people see Castroneves' name, 4-time winner, won it last year. This is one where you kind of can wait and maybe get a better number.
A random head-to-head coming up next between Jack Harvey, who starts in the back row, and Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood, the favorite here at -125. I don't mind Harvey here. I don't know if Kirkwood has the car underneath him, as we've talked about, to match his talent to get up towards the front. And it just seems like what we learned at Texas was he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe tried something a little bit too early on. So I don't mind sprinkling a bit here on Jack Harvey, who I think can control a race car. I'm not saying he's going to have a great finish, but at the end of the day, I could see Harvey 20th and Kirkwood 27th.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of this one. This one was one that, I have Harvey's a guy that I like to bet pre-qualifying in road and street courses. So like there's a little bit of a bias sweet spot there for me with him. Kirkwood's a rookie. Always want to, you want to fade those guys, but he's been impressive. I lean Harvey as well. We'll see if this one decides to throw this one out there too.
Roman Grosjean at even money against Felix Rosenqvist. Both had pretty solid qualifying efforts. Grosjean has just kind of been all over the place. He's been on the verge of wrecking about 5 times. Felix qualifies well like he has all year, but then fades. This is a fade for me. I'm not willing to pay the -130 for Felix. And Grosjean, I'm just not sure if he finishes the race. So this is a stay away play for me.
Yeah, I'll pass on this one too. I know you're down on Felix. I'm a little higher on him than you are, I think, based on the conversations we've had. So Felix is not a fade for me. Obviously, I have a win bet on him in the 20s. So, but this matchup, it'd be Felix or nothing for me.
Yeah. All right, moving on down. Joseph Newgarden at -130 and Colton Herta at plus money. Colton's going to have to pick off some guys, and I think that he will early. Newgarden, again, I keep saying this, not to rip the guy. He's an incredible talent. He just hasn't proved to me that he can win the Indianapolis 500. But again, Colton hasn't been the best. He started up front last year and faded late. So this is a stay away from me, for me at least.
So, I lean Herta on this one based on what we've talked about earlier. So question for you, Newgarden, best driver not to win the 500 currently? Does he take that mantle for you?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean he's got 2 championships. He's won on multiple different ovals. He's been great. So I think current driver, based on track record and the experience, yes, I would put that in there. But if fade for me, then we go here, Mike. I mean, check this out. You've got 1-2 teammates, Scott Dixon -20, Alex Palou -110. I don't mind Alex Palou here. If I'm going to fade Scott Dixon and say that I think Palou's one of the short list to win it, I got to go with Palou at -110.
Yeah, so this is where, like, if I wanted to hedge a little bit on some of the Dixon fade, I may use this matchup to do that. Doubtful that I'll do that. Like we said earlier, give me a full fade on Dixon. I have, we talked about shopping around. I've seen this exact matchup at some other sports books, and Pelot is plus money. That makes me feel a little better about clicking the button on Pelot over Dixon, where you can get them at, I think it was plus 130 I saw. So this is one, again, kind of watch, wait and see what happens, see what the line does. Maybe it's one that's closer to an 11 or 10 a.m. bet on Sunday pre-race, depending on where those numbers are.
Look, I would suggest, and I don't know if hammer is the right term, Ed Carpenter over Scott McLaughlin. And then even though you're paying minus 130 here, your kid's tuition, your mortgage, your rent, your wife's wedding ring, whatever you would like on this next prop bet of Marcus Ericsson minus 130 to finish higher than Jimmy Johnson. I think this is as close to a lock as we're going to get, which means I'll probably be wrong. But Ericsson at minus 130, I know you're paying a little bit there, but man, I think Ericsson's a top 5 finisher in this race, and I'm not sure Jimmy Johnson can even finish.
Oh man, be careful what you say. Be careful what you wish for. You get some nasty DMs after Ericsson gets caught up in something that's not even his fault, and Jimmy just like slowly wheels it around to a top 25 finish, and a nice little bunch of Carvana ads that we get to watch. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like Jimmy, like I said, I'm cautiously like dipping my toes into some of this Jimmy Johnson hype. I just don't. I think he's just going to be super careful. I don't think he's doing anything to win this race. Ericsson, we think, is a contender. So yeah, if I see Jimmy Johnson matchups, I saw one against that like jumped out the page at me. Power versus Johnson. Like Power's going out there to win. Power's won the race. He's going out there to win the race. I think that. I honestly think that Jimmy's just, I don't think that's his mindset. I think it's just kind of stay out of trouble, complete the whole 500 miles, and that's a win for him. So, I'd be looking to fade Jimmy. I think his odds are way too low in a lot of the markets.
The 106th running of the Indianapolis 500 comes up on Sunday. We've got you covered here on Burnout Sports, burnoutsports.com, Burnout Bets. Mike's card will be updated throughout the weekend. I'll give you a few more plays as well. Mike, if you want to recap some of your favorite plays for the please do. And don't forget to follow us at Indy_bet, at Burnout Bets, at Tony D. Indy. We'll keep you updated as, things could change. Friday, we might see somebody go out and practice and look incredible. It could be a Joseph Newgarden, maybe a Colton Herta, and that changes the way that we look at it. But as of right now, Mike, go ahead and give a quick recap of your card for the race coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, so like we talked about, just to kind of recap, you want to make sure your betting card correlates. Hopefully you guys picked up some tips and tricks we gave you along the way for betting on IndyCar here. Currently, my card to win, right now I'm sitting with a VK ticket, an award ticket, a Rosenquist ticket, and a Pelot ticket. Those are my winner bets right now. We have Pageant bets that we made in the future. And I obviously have my Hilda JR bet from a long time ago. That's just a small bet that's for fun. I've yet to decide on the top 3s and the top 5s. I'm going to mix and match some of those. It'll be with those drivers that I just mentioned, Award, BK, Rosenquist, Pelot probably. In terms of matchups, still looking at some of the matchups, the Power over Johnson matchup, the Carpenter matchup we talked about. The props. The props are what I've already placed wagers on the props under 9.5. Starting spot on the grid for the winner. So that means the winner is going to come between the first 9 starting spots or the first 3 rows, however you want to say it. I also split that bet up with under 5.5 starting grid spot, which was plus money. So just sprinkled 20% of the unit on that as well. I do think the car number is going to be under 10.5. I placed a bet on that as a prop as well. And like I talked about, like Tony and I are going to have our friendly little wager. I went with odd for the car number that is going to be the winner. So that's what I got so far. Keep an eye. Follow me on Twitter as I see stuff, as I bet stuff. I'll try to post one big card as well when we get closer, and it'll all be out on Twitter for you.
All right. Yep. Don't forget to follow us, like, subscribe. Send us your picks as well on Twitter. We would love to see what you're betting on or where your leans are, whether it's a win, a top 5 bet, or some kind of prop bet, something that you like that's fun. I know everybody gets there and we'll cut the newspaper up and pull out of a hat, but if there's any other bets that you've placed, please let us know. Enjoy the Indianapolis 500. Be sure to check in on Twitter throughout the weekend. We will have you covered. Burnout Sports at Burnout Bets, at Indy_bet, and at Tony D. Indy. I'm done saying the word at. Thanks so much for listening here to the Burnout Bet Show, burnoutsports.com.